no is not the only thing that was expressed tonight. I want to focus on what we said yes to as a state. We said yes to science. We said yes to vaccines. We said yes to ending this pandemic. We said yes to people's right to vote without fear of fake fraud or voter suppression.
Newsom's a sociopath.
What if your governor spent more time perfecting his hair gel than tackling homelessness? And what if California's top man got roasted so hard you could practically toast marshmallows on his ego? That's exactly what Adam Carolla just pulled off, torching Gavin Newsom with zero apologies and serving up a drive-through style roast packed with fewer fries but way more facts. The result? Liberals cringing, conservatives cracking up, and Newsom nervously double-checking every mirror he walks past.
Wrong with it because it's Gavin Newsom's idea. So if Gavin Newsom says, I'm in the mood for deep dish pizza tonight, it means you should get New York style thin crust, because everything that comes out of that guy's mouth is wrong. He's an
Before we go any further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss this. So what do you get when you mix endless hair gel, an inflated ego, and the political instincts of a busted magic 8-ball? You get Gavin Newsom, California's poster child for style over substance. The Gucci ghost drifting through Sacramento's halls of power. Adam Carolla didn't just call him out, he held up a mirror to a walking contradiction. And the reflection was messier than a vegan lost at a Texas barbecue.
To hide behind his dumb quips. I just destroyed him. He's an inferior intellect. There's something wrong with him. So he doesn't think clearly. He's not.
Gavin Newsom has turned into that kid in class who always signed up for group projects, dumped the workload on everyone else, and then strutted in on presentation day wearing a tuxedo. He shows up to disaster zones with the swagger of someone who helped cause the mess, yet still expects a standing ovation, all while California burns, literally and figuratively. And through it all, Newsom seems to be saying, but hey, have you noticed my jawline?
About trans rights and sports if he's in one setting and then say it's unfair in another setting. I don't think people fully understand who that guy is. I sat in a room with him for an hour and tried to talk to him, and there's nothing there. And the idea that he has designs on, sort of global domination is insane.
You almost have to admire the guy. It takes real skill to turn the most resource-rich state in America into a walking meme. Running California should be like coaching an all-star team, but under Gavin, it's turned into the political equivalent of the Fire Festival. And instead of sad cheese sandwiches, residents get $7 gas, rolling blackouts, and homelessness so widespread the tents might as well come with Wi-Fi and HOA fees.
Started off, so I don't think people really know how intellectually troubled he is, or bankrupt, or something. I don't really know whether to call him a liar or an imbecile or...
Every press conference somehow plays out like a shampoo ad abruptly hijacked by a TED Talk on why nothing is ever Gavin's fault. In his world, wildfires happen because trees were inconsiderate enough to grow too close together, crime surges because Mercury decided to go retrograde, and the housing crisis? Well, that's just what happens when Californians don't manifest their dreams hard enough.
Success is, I like to have a beer with that guy. And it's like, he's a narcissistic douchebag. I've interviewed him on my podcast years ago. He's a slippery eel of nothingness. He says nothing. He says nothing. He's a sociopathic, narcissistic, empty bag.
Meanwhile, he's busy touring red states, dishing out lectures like a missionary peddling virtue instead of salvation, while his own backyard looks like it was cut from a rejected post-apocalyptic video game. Maybe hold off on the sanctimony until San Francisco stops resembling Gotham before Batman showed up. The idea that Gavin Newsom sees himself as presidential material is almost laughable, because nothing says White House ready like failing to make California function like a normal state. After all, who wouldn't want a president presiding over $5,000 a month shoebox apartments, complete with raccoon roommates? So when Adam Carolla clapped back, it was like a collective sigh of relief from everyone who's ever had to sidestep a stray hypodermic needle on a city sidewalk. Newsom once boasted he felt revitalized. Carolla simply said out loud what millions have been thinking. Gavin treats hypocrisy like performance art, and if double standards were currency, he'd have solved inflation years ago.
Except for I knew he was 100% wrong. And I could have worked out a situation where me and Gavin Newsom became pretty good friends by me telling him something that I knew was patently false. But then, why?
He never misses a chance to preach about climate change, yet hops on private jets like they're his personal Ubers. His version of saving the planet probably involves cranking out glossy brochures on recycled paper. Meanwhile, California's forests are going up in flames faster than his excuses, and under Gavin's watch, fire season has basically become a year-round lifestyle. And then there's the water crisis. Somehow, a state sitting on the edge of the Pacific Ocean still manages to run dry, turning California into Arizona playing dress-up as Mad Max. Hand Gavin a full-blown water park and he'd still have people rationing toilet flushes, though he'd look you dead in the eye, skin perfectly moisturized, and promise sustainable solutions. Regulation under him is just as absurd. It feels like entrepreneurs are being treated as if they're hoarding oxygen. Want to start a food truck? Better hire 5 lawyers, translate zoning codes in ancient runes, and sacrifice a goat to the bureaucracy gods. But if you want to pitch a tent outside City Hall and live rent-free, congratulations. You've just been welcomed into Gavin's open-air utopia.
Sunshine and get vitamin D and exercise, so you shut the beaches. Okay.
My buddy Adam Carolla was guest hosting on News Nation, and somehow Gavin Newsom went on the show. This is just in the last 2 or 3 days. And Adam Carolla, if you think I hate Gavin Newsom, and I truly do have hatred in my heart for him, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of hatred in me in general, but it's there for this guy. If you think I hate him, Carolla might be the one man on earth that hates him more than me, and he's...
And then there's the homelessness crisis, Gavin's true magnum opus, where billions have been poured in, yet the sidewalks still look like Burning Man never packed up. It's as if he figured out how to mass-produce failure. Every time a solution is floated, he forms another task force, holds a flashy press conference, and then disappears like the accountability fairy. You'd think someone this incompetent would at least stack his team with capable people, but instead his inner circle feels like the cast of a CW drama about corrupt bureaucrats. Lots of titles, shiny lanyards, and not a clue what they're actually doing. They host endless roundtables, where the only thing round is the circular. Logic used to dodge responsibility. Ask a real question, and the answer usually boils down to, I don't know, but did you see my Instagram? It's almost poetic how Gavin manages to be both everywhere and nowhere at once. One minute he's posing for a photo op planting a tree, the next he's sipping champagne on a yacht raising cash for his inevitable presidential campaign. Meanwhile, back home, the tree is on fire, the power's out, and Californians are lighting candles with their tax returns.
I interviewed Gavin Newsom on my podcast some years ago, and he was telling me that, the homeless issue was the biggest issue ever for him. That was he was like the #1 homeless issue guy. They said it's, junkies and people with mental situations. It's their mental problems or people that are on drugs. And then he proceeded to explain to me the real picture of homelessness, and I'll quote him here, was a mother of 3 whose husband left, who had a full-time job, but she was...
And then there's the education system, where Gavin's master plan was to shut down schools and then act shocked when kids struggled to read, while California's rankings nosedive faster than his approval ratings at a farmer's market. But hey, at least the cafeteria's rolled out vegan options, right? Housing under his watch has become a high-stakes game of how much you despise your own wallet, with people working 3 jobs just to rent a converted garage. Meanwhile, Gavin hosts as affordable housing summits from his Napa Valley estate, pushing out legislation that looks flawless in a tweet but crumbles the second it collides with reality. His actual strategy? Build nothing, blame everyone, and flash a grin straight out of his senior prom photo. And somehow, this is the guy who thinks he's the cure for national division. Like America should trust 50 states to the man who already split his own between the ultra-rich and the ultra-homeless. What could possibly go wrong besides rolling blackouts and deep philosophical debates over whether sidewalks count as housing? Every time Gavin opens his mouth, it's like listening to a TEDx talk delivered by someone convinced Wi-Fi sparks. Wildfires. He's so fixated on image management, you'd swear the governor's office was headquartered inside an influencer's closet. The suits, always immaculate. The smile, always polished. The policies, missing in action, like the plot of a Michael Bay movie.
In certain circles, my Hollywood circles, over my truth-telling about COVID, you were way out in front on that also, calling Fauci a liar and being skeptical of the COVID narrative. And nothing they did was based on science. Lockdowns were not based on science. Masks were not based on science. Mandates were not based on science. Nothing.
Social distancing.
None of that was based on science.
And let's not forget when Gavin decided to step onto the national stage because nothing says, "I nailed it here." Like sprinting away from the wreckage you caused. He's basically the arsonist who volunteers to teach a fire safety class while his own pants are still on fire. Then comes the signature Gavin gloss, that magical belief that if you say something with enough confidence, it instantly becomes true. It's not incompetence, it's redefining success. It's not collapse, it's transformative policy. And it's not a mass exodus, it's population redistribution by personal choice. Translation: people are bailing on California, like it's the Titanic, while Gavin declares the iceberg a historical landmark, and don't even get started on taxes. California has turned into the place where hard work gets punished more than actual crime, but Gavin's fix is always the same. Blame climate change, light a candle, and pass a law about composting your feelings. Yet somehow, whispers of a presidential run keep circling because nothing screams big league ready like failing upward. Gavin has practically become the human embodiment of LinkedIn confidence, already picturing the White House drapes and sketching out his memoir, From Hair Gel to Healthcare, My Journey Through Public Delusion.
Basically he's like a guy who runs the world's worst taco stand. He makes the worst tacos, and then he starts saying, I want a franchise and get my horrible tacos to everyone in the United States. And I'm the guy who lives across the street from his taco stand going, this guy makes the worst tacos ever. He wants to franchise. It's never gonna work. You can always tell he's full of when he...
Adam Carolla didn't just toss a little shade, he lit up the stage with a spotlight on the man who somehow turned one of the most naturally blessed states into a full-blown cautionary tale. Gavin's response will likely be another glossy photo op in front of wind turbines, a few mumbled lines about progress, and then a quick ride in a waiting SUV. If America wants a sneak preview of a Newsom presidency, just take a look at California, the land of broken dreams, bloated budgets, and backward priorities. A place where you need permits to sneeze but can pitch a tent on your neighbor's porch, tax-free. Where environmentalism means banning plastic straws while entire forests burn to the ground. The truth is, Carolla didn't even break new ground. He just said what millions were already thinking, loud enough to cut through Gavin's next campaign jingle. That's the problem with Newsom. He's lived so long in a golden echo chamber that he doesn't even notice the cracks forming in the walls. While he's rubbing elbows with donors and influencers, the people he governs are brushing rats off their kids' homework. But hey, priorities.
That's his false sort of he does a feigned outrage thing. You know, people would say the same about Trump. They go, he's a sociopath, he's whatever. Okay, all granted, but Trump always talks about taxes and border, the economy, and gas prices and stuff like that. If Newsom, if I heard Newsom go, gas prices in California are way too high, I got to bring them down, I don't care what it's going to take, I'm going to do it, then I would go, well, all right, well, the sociopath makes a point, but he never...
Carolla's takedown wasn't just aimed at the man, it was aimed at the myth. The idea that you can be utterly ineffective, but as long as your hair glistens and you sprinkle in words like holistic and intergenerational equity, you still get to wear the crown. Gavin Newsom is living proof that if you dazzle people long enough, they'll forget to ask why their power bill just outpaced their mortgage. Then came the population plunge, California's own version of, it's not me, it's you. Except here, People aren't just leaving, they're fleeing. Suddenly, Texas, Florida, and even Idaho look like paradise compared to paying $6 a gallon and dodging urban tumbleweeds made of CVS receipts and despair. Newsom keeps insisting everything's fine, but the U-Haul shortage at the border tells a different story. He governs like a man writing a screenplay about governing, a prototype of selective blindness, self-satisfaction, and high definition. He's got every buzzword, but none of the buzz. California's broadband might crawl, but Gavin's self-promotion uploads at SpaceX speeds, and while families are being taxed into oblivion, he's busy hosting climate galas beneath chandeliers big enough to double as housing for a family. Of 4, it's green energy meets Marie Antoinette. Because Gavin doesn't want to fix the system, he wants to curate it, pose next to it, give it a haircut, and rebrand it on LinkedIn.
I was watching Newsom, and Newsom was giving a speech on the homeless. He's disgusted, by the way, by this situation.
Time to do your job. People are dying on their watch. Dying on their watch.
He is absolutely appalled, but this is more performative confidence he's doing. He's the cause of the homeless problem, really, essentially. But here he is the other day.
How do people get reelected? People are dying. I'm not interested in funding failure anymore. I'm not.
He keeps talking about people dying. I thought it was a mother of 2 who had a full-time job and just got divorced.
Law enforcement under Gavin's watch has turned into a twisted game of Survivor Urban Edition, where laws shift faster than fashion fads, criminals get bolder, victims get sidelined, and justice is reduced to a spin of progressive roulette that rarely lands on common sense. Small businesses haven't fared much better. To Gavin, they might as well be mosquitoes, annoying, expendable, and easily swatted away with suffocating regulations. During the pandemic, he managed to shutter more family-owned diners than Yelp could keep track of. Yet somehow, elite wineries stayed open. And of course, his own French Laundry reservation never seemed to get canceled. Pure coincidence, right? Gavin governs like he's auditioning for HGTV. Everything looks polished for the cameras while the plumbing leaks raw sewage and the floorboards scream for mercy. And now he's openly teasing a presidential run, because nothing says ready to lead 330 million people like being the architect of a mass resident exodus, an energy grid that collapses every summer, and crime rates ripped from a dystopian script. He's pitching himself as the reboot of the American dream, when in reality, he's the spinning buffer wheel of governance.
Or an ATM, things we take for granted. They don't have a check.
What's wrong with them?
And well, because they don't have the resources to sock those things away.
Why do we have them?
A lot of different reasons, but roughly half those families don't.
Why do Armenians have them?
But where they end up is in check cashing places.
But I want to know why those groups. Why those 2 groups don't have access?
Well, a lot of it just happens to be that we can talk about.
Flawed?
Carolla didn't need to stretch the truth. He just connected the dots. And let's face it, there's no shortage of them. Dots in the shape of failed policies, broken promises, polished incompetence, and a PR team that must be running on fumes. All Adam did was say out loud what much of the country has been yelling into the void while Gavin strikes a pose beside a solar panel and calls it a legacy.